Alrighty. TGIM. Thank goodness it's Monday. Doc here from North America. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And let's see how they're looking this morning. I saw the. Where's it at? I saw the. I got the dollar ruble up there now. Let's move over to the Swiss. I know I have the Swiss on the J4X. There it is, right there. And it's just marching up. And as you can see on the chart, so let's go find the chart. There it is. As you can see on the chart, look at that. We're playing with the top end of the old range that we had talked about for months upon months. And that means that this is the move of the dollar right here. This is basically what the dollar looks like. And I guess if we go over to, not guess, I know, when we go over to the Dollar ETF right here, it's the same thing. Big, long run up. And that's what's happened is that the dollar is being bought again, mainly because of the interest rates and the combination of that and some of the return. In other words, that's where in a world where everybody is, let's see, how's the best way to describe it? In a world where 18 trillion, not billion or million, is parked in something that doesn't give any return in equity. In other words, you buy it and it costs you money, and it's an interest-bearing product, and so it's supposed to pay you money, not cost you money. And so the world is in that situation now where they need to find return. Money managers must find return. They've got to go somewhere to get some profit. They've got to have a profit somewhere. Now, the only places really seem to be is the equity markets. The equities, seem to slowly drift up. You can see in the currency markets, we just vacillate back and forth, which is fine. That's the way currencies usually work. They're a really good trading tool, and they try to adjust to the economy of the country. Each currency adjusts to its economy. In the fundamental ways nowadays, it's a little bit different. Oh, it rhymed too. That was cute. That the fundamentals don't function like they used to. That's why we're into the quantitative side of things for decades now. The fundamentals were always a dicey thing. They're always a confusing thing. We always had a lack of confidence in them to begin with. But now we're at a point where interest rates and inflation and employment and GDP and consumer prices and producer prices don't all match up anymore to have any effect, and that's all because of quantitative easing. And so when we go back to, let's go back to it, right there, there it is right there, the Swiss, it's been marching up for weeks. We went into a daily buy here. It has stayed in the daily buy. It refuses to go into a sell. And we've been in the weekly buy since here. They played underneath this range. We watched this range for almost like 9 months. Finally broke the range right there. And then we thought that meant something, that it was going to stay down in here, and this would be more of the ceiling, the resistance line in the 9 area. But obviously not. I don't think a lot of people were anticipating the idea of seeing U.S. interest rates like the 30-year and so forth move up into the 2s. I think the 30-year now is yielding about 221, 222, something like that. The 10-year in the United States is yielding in the 150s, I think it is, like 153, 152. And then, like I said, in a world where money managers are starved to get some type of return on their assets, this is one of the only places in town. And then you see, like the Italian 10-year is yielding about, I think the last I saw it was yielding in the 5s, 0.50. So it's only like half a percentage point for a 10-year. Japan is the same way. It's even lower. So it makes it tough. So it forces money into the equity market, which is not a very big market to begin with. So the world equity market is busy and it's entertaining and it's short-lived, but it can't handle a lot. In other words, the investors have to be invested in many ways. Thank goodness for options. At least money managers in this century and the last quarter century, going back to 1976, could use options to protect themselves for inflation and lack of earnings and so forth. Whereas before that, they had to just sell the stock, get rid of the stock, take a tax. You had to take a gain or a loss and change your whole complexion of your portfolio from it. So, and then the stock index futures made it even easier going into the 80s. I think it was 1983, when they started trading stock index futures. Then they could sell a basket, or they could buy the index and sell the futures contract, and that was a way of hedging without having to take the capital gains in the stock side of it. All right, let's drift over to the euro. Look at the euro here, doing the same thing, rolling over. It was actually a day behind in some ways of the Swiss, but it has joined in over the last this is the 7 days. And when we do look at the Swiss again, you can see the Swiss was ahead of the curve. Money there knew. That's why we're always fascinated by it. Money there knew. There's 3, there's 6. Is that right there? Yeah, so it goes into the buy here at this low. And then that's 3. And then there's 6. And then there's 9. And then there's 12. And 2 is 14. And this is the 15th day. So compared to the euro, right here, you can see 15 days back it was here, and then it went up higher still, and tried to back off a little bit here, I guess, at the beginning of the Swiss move. Let's see, is that 14 days back? That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That this movement right here is the bottom of the Swiss, and obviously that didn't work out for the euro, and then now it's joined in. And the cable, where we, the same to some extent. I mean, 14 days back, there's let's see, 15 days back there's 3, and there's 6, and then there's 9, and then there's 12, and then there's 15 right here. So as the Swiss started to rise, this still rose, and there's no doubt that the euro is having its weaknesses, and you can see the weaknesses in the Swiss, but the cable seems to be holding up very well. They've come into a little channel in here, and basically is going nowhere from it. They're just holding up and staying steady with it. And you can see we're still in a weekly buy, right there, like that. Is it like what is that? That's let's see, where's it at? That is 21 weeks now in a weekly buy. 21 weeks. So since mid-October. And again, we do, and this, no doubt, this is probably the biggest of that. I mean, there was a pretty good sell-off there, but this is obviously bigger. Same thing here. There's a little cute little sell-off there, but this is obviously bigger. This was interesting. This up and down in here, but this is obviously bigger. The cable has a lot of potential now that they have they're back inside the Commonwealth, and at the same time they have the ability to sell to Europe or sell to the Commonwealth, and buy from Europe and buy from the Commonwealth, and that's a very positive thing, really, extremely positive. All right, let's see. So there's the cable, and so then what we do is we drift over to the Turkish Lira right there. You see Turkish Lira is marching up too, same situation. Hanging out in the second week in a weekly buy, just marching its way up slowly. A little surprised. We thought this would be the topping area. Let's take a look at on J4X. I want to see where they put the lines on that. And anybody who uses J4X can also put this combination together to be able to get a flavor of the, and this is a monthly action also. Let's get into the daily there. Look at that run. Okay, let's take a look at Turkish Lira. Right there. And we are making some dashing moves. Now, I don't expect it to come back up in here, but I was even surprised that it got through this hump. I guess it's going to play with the bottom of that. So we'll get just a little bit higher, probably probably the higher sevens, but I don't think they'll pierce the 7-9 area. And then that's that. That's, I guess, is that it? Let's move that over. Oh yeah, maybe it is. It's starting to do that now. So I guess that's the 7-8, 7-9s. We're just coming up to that there. I figured that they'll stall out that range there, right underneath the 8s. Quiet Monday morning, traders. I understand that. And we'll just kind of try to give a overall view, and we may even call it that, the overall view of what we could see this week. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, something fell. Oh, I see what it is. So now we're looking at the Turkish Lira, and it's giving itself a pretty good rebound here, going from 7 to 8 again. I don't think, like I said, we'll get past that area, but we'll see. We're in the weekly buy, and all we can do is follow the numbers. And that's usually the way it always works. Follow the numbers, because in the end result is that they're going to be more right than the fundamentals are. That's for sure. All right. Canadian, that's usually where we go from there. Canadian's still stuck in the little buy here, but it's not doing anything. And it's in a weekly sell. So it's trapped in that neutral stance, which is probably the most logical thing of all. You see it trapped in... Ooh, thank you. Oh, it looks great. So that's where we stand with the Canadian. Is I don't expect to see it make any major moves, because I think they're going through the same mutation that we're going through here in the States. And you can see, as much as the dollar has been roaring, you can see here the Canadian is kind of lost. It's just trying to figure out where it's going at this point. Let's see what that tastes like. Someone gave me something to eat. I like that. Good. All right. Now, let's go over to NASCAD. Oh, and another thing, too, about the Canadian. Just because of this weakness alone, kind of says to us we're expecting to see the oil market back off. Now, I am looking at the oil market. It's only up 21 cents or something like that right now. 26 cents, and but it had run up $1.50 higher. So they've really backed off from overnight. I guess that was more because of the rockets going into Saudi Arabia, that type of thing, or the drones. Now let's take a look at NASCAD, the other side of the pairs that we watch to relate to the energy sector. And as this is going down, normally you would see the oil go down. And that's kind of curious, because when we go over to the oil market itself, let's just take a look at the oil market right there. It's been marching up strongly, even with that NASCAD heading down, which is not normal. Usually they kind of march together most of the time, maybe 8 out of 10 times, 7 out of 10 times, something like that. And when you put the Canadian with it, it usually makes sense. Since the Canadian is trapped in a sideways action, more than likely we're probably seeing a confused oil market. I think not only was the rockets being fired at Saudi Arabia, but there was talk of JP Morgan, one of the brokerage houses came out with, they came out with the statement, next stop, $80 a barrel. That always excites the markets. They step up, they have buyers that come in and so forth. But that's the oil market right there. And you can see how high it was. The high was 67.98, and you can see in this big white box right, let's see if we can do that right here. Do it like that. And as you can see right there, it's trading at 66.27. So was it 98? So that's $1.70. I mean that is $1.72 lower from its high. And that, again, that was the rocket's red glare, basically. Now, what has me really surprised, and I guess on a sociological level, no, but on a trading level, yes, and that is the natural gas. Let's take a look at natural gas. right there. Now it was bouncing up last night. Let's see where it's at right now with a refresh. It's still moving down. Okay, so we are in a daily sell right there for the last couple of days from that point. We're in a weekly sell for 2 weeks, and it's going down. So it's that winner chicken dinner. But every time it pops up, I am surprised this late in the year that they do it. Let's move that down like that. There we are. And so that's the action in natural gas. No questions today. Really quiet. Now, where do we run from here? We can go back over to the currencies, take a look at some of the other products, see what relates to, the metals or the indices or the interest rates. I guess we could do that. Let's do this. Let's go over to the two interest rate products that we're following at the moment. That is the 10-year. There that is right there. And we're getting ready to change contracts there too. That matter of fact, it's probably the front month may have already switched. We'll have to check that out today. I'll do that after the webcast. And you can see here, let's refresh that. 3 days in a sell, and it's been 4 solid weeks in a sell. So they money, the quantitative reasoning, consciousness, mathematics, however you want to phrase it, picked up on that weakness that was coming. And then let's take a look at the 10-year. I'm sorry, that's the 10-year. Let's look at the 30-year right there. Give that a refresh. Same situation, 3 days in a sell, 2, 4, 5 full weeks in a sell, going on a 6th week. Now, why is that? Oh, yeah, that would be last week, and this is this week, yeah. So you're talking 5 full weeks. This jumped out a week earlier up in here and picked up the slide. And that is the action in the interest rate market, which is what used to truly move the currency market. Now it's hit and miss. Sometimes it pays attention to it, the currency market. Sometimes it does not, because they try to stay in a trading range. And that's why we see the oddest things like the silver, moving down when everybody wants to buy the product. And, you wonder, with the increase of interest rates and inflation, why are we not seeing a stronger metals market? Again, that's the perfect example of the fundamentals getting washed away by the quantitative easing. Quantitative easing has a real grip. There's gold this morning. I think at one point it was plus a little bit, but now it's really pressed down. And you can see there. Let's put gold on the J4X too, because I want to look at the platinum this morning and see where the spread is. I think it went out over the weekend at 568 or something like that. It picked up some money on Friday, which was a little surprise. But then it was a Friday, and anything's possible. So let's put the gold in there. There it is right there. So spot is 1691, as you can see. The what contract says this is the April contract, and you can see right there. Where is it at? Let's go like this. As you can see right there, it's trading at 1687. So the difference between the two is $4, and that's the carry or the cost trade from New York to London. That $4, and this is the April contract. And that's Mr. and Mrs. Gold. And now let's take a look at the platinum real quick, just to get a flavor of what's going on there. That's April platinum. And you can see there 12. Is that trading at 1128, basically 29. So 1129 from, well, make it 30. You can round it out. 1130. That's 562. So the spread is just hanging around in that area. We've been watching that spread since it was over $1,000. We've been bullish on that spread all the way. It went to I think it was 494, and has come back a little bit, but nothing major. Now, copper. Saw an interesting headline: copper and gold in zero hedge. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me, so I didn't think to push on it too hard. But it was funny that they were talking about the two of them. I guess maybe the strength in them. I mean, copper has been on a tear on the upside. And you can see it's going into this digestion period here now. But we're still in the weekly buy here. And the product has gone from, let's see, let's put it up on J4X to show you where it has gone from. Copperero right there. So copper, there we go, has gone from the threes in December. I guess it is. There's December. Is that December? Yeah, it's December. So basically going from the 3 area to the 4 area in a, I guess what you could say, oh, well, wait a minute. This is November. Okay, yeah, December. So over like the 4-month period, it's really done a nice job of climbing. So we can show you it that way on here too. You see, yeah, in October it was trading in the 3s. Right there, up top here. Trading in the 3s, just below it. We've had some really wild runs on the weekly. I think we went into a weekly buy, was that back in October, and it lasted all the way to, was it just the end of January, right? Yeah. And then went into a sell for one whole week after coming 60 cents up, and went back into the buy the following week, and now it's gone from the 360 to the 4. What's the high there? 430s. So another almost 60-cent move. 2 back-to-back 60-cent moves in weekly buys over that whole long time frame. Quiet day, huh? Can you hear us, Robin? You out there? It's like so quiet. Let's save this. And then that is it for the metals complex. So the only thing left now is the stock indices, which, like I said, they are marching to a beat that is just beyond anything that anybody can even imagine. There's talk of tax selling towards the end of the month. They say that there's a $316 billion worth of, it's a speculation by, I'm not sure if it's J.P. Morgan or if it's by Morgan Stanley or Bank of America. I forget who came out with it. But they were saying that it's going to be, they believe there's going to be about $300 billion worth of tax selling. I'm sure they're going to whittle their way through it right now. Can't imagine them trying to get out the door on 1 or 2 days, that's for sure. Let's see where we at here. There it is. This is called the NASDAQ 100. Dukascopy has it as, they have it as the Tech 100. Right there. You can see here, the product has been in a weekly sell for 2 full weeks now. And we've fallen from the, like the 13,300 area, something like that, to the, there's all-time highs right there, down to the 1,200, 300 area. You know, there's the low there of 207 on Friday. So it's dropped about 1,000 points. And compared to some of the other, we have some real wild action going on through different stock indices. So you have the NASDAQ feeling most of this pain, you know, and that's where all the profits are. Because almost all, an enormous amount of profits in the equity markets across the world has been in the high tech and the social media combinations. Now you can see here, the S&P 500 closed in a weekly buy last week and is already flirting today with the weekly sell, pushing through it. And we're in a daily sell, so, you know, this buy at the end of last week was not something you could buy. And sure enough, it's backing off. Let's just give it a refresh again. Now the S&P 500 is 50% of the companies in that indice are American companies, and the other 50% are foreign incorporated. So they're, it's a global index. It's definitely something that a lot of people watch and utilize. Now we look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. That is still, they're flirting with the weekly sell. So we could grab that, move that over, and shrink that down and change the color. So that went into a buy last week. But this also is in the same situation on a day-to-day basis. It's still in a daily sell and is having a problem trying to get into the buy. So this is also warning us that that little pop was just a dead cat bounce. It's pretty much what it came down to. Then we take a look at the Russell 2000. The Russell 2000 is in a weekly sell for 2 full weeks. Let's refresh that. Now the Russell has all those stocks that the vigilantes have been playing with. The BlackBerry and the GameStop and so forth. They're all in there. The Russell 2000 covers stocks that are lower capitalized. So in other words, they're smaller companies. They're kind of like, in many ways now, the Russell is the speculative indice, and the NASDAQ, which used to be the speculative indice, is now a mainstream indice. And we talk about that here every so often, where 6 of the 30 Dow stocks, even in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the New York Stock Exchange Index itself, has 6 NASDAQ stocks in it. So it's a whole different complexion, a whole different era of finance. The way we understand finance and the way finance had been for over a century and a half. And now we are seeing where the stocks commingle with each other. Now the volume in NASDAQ every day is like 6-7 billion volume, 6 or 7 billion shares. Whereas at the New York Stock Exchange, now the volume is only like billion shares, 1.25 billion shares, a little under 1 billion shares. So, at one time it was the other way around. The New York Stock Exchange was the main market throughout America. And the NASDAQ would have a few stocks that did all right, but overall it was nowhere near what it is today. Now, the NASDAQ has the pillar of equity, or stock equities. So that is that. Now we've taken a look at the indices here. You can see, like I said, there's a lot of mixed thing going on. We can go back and look at this S&P just one more time, which is really curious here. Let me fix that so it doesn't look so whack. And so that is unique, in the sense that it jumped into a weekly buy, but it couldn't get into a daily buy. So that's what really makes it stand out, the action of it. And then when we're looking at this one, same situation, which they usually march pretty well together. But today, this product is literally almost unchanged. And the NASDAQ, here, let me see if I can show you that. So go right there. You can see here, the S&P is down 24 points. And the NASDAQ, and the NASDAQ is down 182 points. And that's 24 points, which is a lot. Normally, the Dow Jones Industrial Average would be down, say, 250 points from that. But the last I saw, it was down about 5 points. That's it. Let's see if I can find the product. Let's see. YXM. Let's just put it in there. YXM. Huh. Now why is that not? Let's do this. Let's cancel that. And then let's do this. We'll go over to here. There it is right there. The Dow Jones Industrial Average Future. And right now, I'm trying to figure out let's see, it closed yesterday on Friday at 465, and right now it's trading at 420 and change. No, wait a minute, 442. So it's down $4. That's all it is, down $4. So it's barely moving. What's interesting is the fact that it even pushed the weekly down, which is fascinating in its own right. And as you can see here, it's moving down more now. But yeah, I mean, yesterday's close or Friday's close was 31,465, and now it's trading at 42. So it's down about $23. That's it. Now normally with the S&P 500 being down, 224 points, that would be about 240 point drop in the Dow, but it's not. It shows you the diversity of these indices, how they're marching to their own, truly a stock picker's market. I guess you can say that. I always laugh. Many of us traders always used to laugh when you heard someone say, "Oh, it's a stock picker's market." It's like, yeah, it's always a stock picker's market. So it's like, it's not like one day it turns off, but boy, has it really emphasized itself between these indices about how much, the percentage of movement down in the NASDAQ is enormous compared to the S&P, and then it's incredibly big compared to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. All right. Let's see, where else can we go from here? Let's see if we can pick up on the stock indices themselves right there. They're just opening them up right now. All right, now there's the dollar today. Another pop up. That's some of the first ticks. It just started trading about a minute ago, and you can see it's in a weekly buy for the 2 full weeks. And then there's the S&P, barely, it's moving down. Now this has shrunk down dramatically. This is the stock itself. So that's down about 50 cents. And is that right? Yeah. See, so closed at 3836, and it's at 3826. It's almost down $1. And then the futures contract's down 20 some odd points, which is really, a real push on the downside there. And then there is coffee. Coffee's been fascinating. It's been reading that the whole little sell-off that it's developed, and we're now finally in the weekly sell. And we went into the daily sell up here at the top, just as we went into the buy here for that pop. Let's move that out of the way. There we are. And that is the, let's just save that. That is coffee. We have one trader paying attention to that right now. And I'll just do the currency, which we all saw how the Swiss is treating that. Whew. Just the Swiss is really telling us that they are taking the dollar up at the moment. All right. What else? Anybody care to see anything particular? If not, I'll just keep on rolling along, trying to explore what we're seeing here today. There's that oil pairs that we always pay attention to, and that is the New Zealand against the Canadian. See how the ruble's doing this morning. Still popping up, and just missed the weekly buy by the hair of its chinny chin. But it has that, it has the Canadian look to it, It has that same look as the Canadian. Confused and not sure which way to go. Money doesn't know what to do with it at the moment. And then there's the yen. The yen is doing the same march on the upside and hitting one of those support and resistance areas that we pointed out for a long time, just like the Swiss is doing. So the yen is following in the same footsteps as the Swiss. And then let's see, where else do we go? How about Aussie dollar? You can see 3 days in a sell there. Right there, yep, that's the line right there. Giving a warning from that. Oh, wrong place to put it. Let's get rid of that. Oh, I see. It's the sell's even further back. Because what it did is it flirted. There it is right there. So the sell is here. Then they gave it a bounce, but we had the red and the green, so you couldn't get long it. And at the same time, we are in a weekly buy, but look at that. After 19 weeks in a weekly buy, we're starting to flirt very heavily with underneath the zero line. Like that. Let's move this up. When it comes to the Aussie dollar. So we've been in a buy since back in here, since the 69.70, basically the 70 area. And then it ran all the way up to 79, so it picked up 9 full handles and went into a sell, and it flirted with the weekly there, and now it's pushed itself this morning into the weekly sell zone. So that pressure is building. I guess, you know, what it really comes down to is King Dollar is being the king again. King Dollar. The King Dollar. I always found that expression odd. I mean, there's no doubt the dollar is strong always because it's a capitalist country, or at least partially at this point, whereas everybody else is partially socialist or communist and emphasizing in those directions. Yeah, that's interesting, that's for sure. So that is the Aussie. Who else? What other currency is well worth chasing after? Let's see. Any of those exotics that we've been looking at. Let's look at the peso. I understand the border situation has really got everybody antsy down there, not counting the Americans along the American border at the same time. There it is right there. Yeah, we've been watching that thing lift. And where'd it go? When did it buy here? Yeah. And did it go into a sell there? It went into sell there. And then right back into the buy again, like there. You can't take the sells, and traders, and why can't we take the sells? Because, let's move that over one. Because it's in a weekly buy. See it right there. It's been in a weekly buy since back here. Since the beginning of this week. Or, you know, the end of this week. Or in this week, right there. And then, let's see, there's the sell, there's the buy. And then there's the sell again. And there's the buy. So the buys have been allowed, and the sells you can't take. Because we're in a weekly buy. We like these two to coordinate together all the time. So you can see the peso has been, you know, marching up. That's for sure. They I guess they're challenging this stuff up in here before the election. All right, now, where else can we go from there? Well, let me check the chat line. Nothing there so far. Let's see. GBP AUD. Let's just look at that for the fun of it. Strength. Yeah, I see. That's what I see over and over again. I see the strength in this particular product, and you can see it here the way it's corrected. It doesn't go down too deep. It doesn't fall. I mean, compared to, say, look at the Swiss franc against the dollar. I mean, it's made a big move from the 88s all the way up to the 93s. That's 5 full handles. That's pretty big. Whereas over on the British pound dollar, you know, it's fallen from the 41s or 42s, I guess you could say, all the way to the 39s. So it's just 3 handles in the same time frame. And it's the British pound is a really strong product. Like I said, it's now that they're part of the Commonwealth, it really opens the doorway for a lot more success for that economy. All right, let's see what other currency we can take a chase after. If not, we'll drift into some of the others. Some of the other products. There. Oh, South Africa. Let's see what South Africa is doing. It's moving up. Also moving up. Went into the buy here. And went into the weekly buy just last week here. One thing was for sure, you didn't want to be short after that move, and it has climbed. So there's not a winner chicken dinner there. That's a loss. And this one was not the short. This was the winner. You couldn't take the short. You just couldn't be long. And then you could be short from here on the close of that week and catch that win. But you couldn't be long for this nice move here. And the same situation here. You only could take the shorts, but you couldn't take the longs, which was fine because those shorts seemed to be very successful wins, each one of them. So you got to give it up somewhere, traders. We're always at 8.5 out of 10. 8.5 times a win versus 1.5 times a loss. That is the historical average we have. All right, and that's going back on the Dow Jones Industrial Average 90 years. On the a lot of these other products, it goes back 20 years, 30 years, that type of thing, 40 years. All right, where do we go from here? Let's check out the currency universe a little bit more. I don't think there's much left besides the Zloty. You can see the Zloty's been adding some strength to it right there, and in a weekly buy now for us going on to a second week. A little pressure on the caliber of the Polish Zloty. I guess that's the pressure itself going on. All right, let's do this. I might as well close out of there and jump over to some of the other currency sides that we're watching. We like to watch them through this right here. I'll show you. There it is. I could save a few of those too at the same time. So there's the Aussie yen, which I find to be a fascinating thing. I went into the sell. Let's move that over. Went into the sell last. How to do that? Let's give it a refresh. It's got a green dot there. So instead, it's going to be right there. And at the same time, we are in a weekly buy, so you can't take the short either way. That was the last short here, and again, we're in a weekly buy, so you can't take the short. When we get into a daily buy, it goes up the next day, and it gives us a good win. But I see that's red and green. Let's see if I can widen that a little bit. Yeah, red and green. So you can't take the short there, and you can do it here. But you can't take the short. You can just take the. You can sell, take a profit, but you can't take the short because again, traders, we're in a weekly buy. So it just holds you back there, and it's been in a weekly buy for a while. Way back, all the way back to the 76 area, and right now it's trading in the 83 area. So the weekly trend has been very accurate. And then there's our euro. You can see the euro situation where it's at the lows of the day. Save that. Let's see, right there. And then last but not least, the cable again. Move that over. And we'll see if that does any real flirting with the weekly this week, but I kind of tend not to believe it will. If nothing else, as it gets down and scrapes the zero line, good chances are the product will go running into the buy side again. That's the way I see it, at least. All right. There is the three currencies that we pay attention to all the time. Now, I guess we can get out of that. There we go. One of the things that caught my eye on Friday was corn, the front month corn. I'll go through that a little bit right now. I think that's very fascinating. The grains have had a lot of strength in them, and the front month corn went into a weekly sell after 29 weeks in a buy, almost a whole half a year, a full half a year, more than half a year. And that has, there it is right there. That's wheat. And wheat did the same thing, but that vacillates back and forth. Gets into a buy, goes into a sell. Wheat has been somewhat more, flopping along, I guess you could say. Let's give this a refresh. So you can see here it's in a daily buy and a weekly sell. And we'll see how they start this thing off. Now, going and looking at some of these back months, like the December. Let's see, let me show you December. There's December. It held up. It's in the weekly. It hasn't looked back. It's still way, way into the weekly. Let's see. How far back? Been in a buy since August. So it's at 1, it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 29, and now 30. 30 weeks in a buy for the back month, which is, to me, it's, I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see that. That's what's kind of nice about having some of the clients at Chicago Quant following some of these back month products, because it is interesting to see the success of how that works, Let's try that again. And then there we go. So looking at the front month, it flipped into a sell. We'll see how long that lasts, especially with it in daily buys for the last 2 days. So it doesn't seem like it's rushing that fast to go down. And after 29 weeks, it had a right to back off a little bit. Someone's got to take a profit somewhere. Let's see, move that down like that. And I thought that was fascinating, just fascinating. And you can see here, soybeans did it 2 weeks ago, and I was saying that to Robin when we wrote about it. It goes in there and it comes right back out of it. Now we've seen wheat do that type of thing where it goes into sell for a little bit longer, then comes out of it and then goes back into it again. And wheat is definitely, much more weaker. I guess there's so many different products. Robin was saying to me, the Kansas City / Minneapolis red compared to the Chicago white. Some is for pastries, some is for bread. It's interesting how it plays itself out. There we go. Looking to see if there's anything on the chat line. Still nothing. Quiet day. Monday quiet. All right. Oh, and cattle. There is April cattle. Went into a weekly sell last 2 weeks ago, and we've seen the pressure on it. Now let's go back and look at some of the big back months. Say, in particular, there is February. Weekly buy. It has not, the back months are not selling off. It's just the short-term deliverable products that seem to have the pressure on them at the moment. All right. And where can we go from here? Oh, is that? Oh yeah, that was where I was trying to do the stock indices. Let's minimize that. There we are. And you can see here they've taken the Nasdaq up a little bit more. It's only down 130 points now, whereas when we were talking before, and you can see here the S&P 500 down only 14 points. It was down 24 points when we're looking at the stock indices. So the markets are slowly drifting their way back up. See what they're doing with the gold. See if the gold's doing that. Gold seems to be holding on to the lows of the day. I just want to see what silver is looking like. Same situation. All right, traders. Let's see. Where else can Doc go? We've looked at Mexican peso. We've looked at South African rand. We've looked at the stock indices. We've looked at the metals. We can go back and look at any one of these products if you're interested in seeing something. We have no problem repeating ourselves. Because in many ways, when looking at a product, the trade, you know, you need to look at it a few times. That's for sure. And you really do. There we go. I'm just waiting to see if someone will put something up on the chat line. If not, Doc will go find somewhere to look at. Oh, here we go. Hey, George, how you doing? Soybeans, sure. We were just saying that, too, how the back months are doing so much better. Now, there's the front month in soybeans. And that is today, right there. It's showing strength in it again. We're in a weekly buy. So I guess you could say winner, winner, chicken dinner. Now let's go take a look at a back month. Which back month? We have a November. There it is right there. And you can see, we can get rid of that. Because it went into the buy again. The same, just like the front month. That this is the new crop. And the other is the old crop. But that seems to be marching along really well. Israeli pound. Sure, let's look at the Israeli pound. Let's open that up. I think we took it off the chart because we put something else in there, but we can go right back to it. With all those rocket red glares going on over there. Let's see. And what is that symbol? I think it's the I something, right? ISL or something like that. I think we replaced it with the kroner at the time. Let's see. What could we replace it with? There's the peso, the kroner. Oh, I know what it was. It was this. It was with the... I got two different kroners up there. Go like that. There it is right there. There we go. Let's see how it matches up. That's correct. That cell is, let's widen this too so I can read it better. So that cell, we can move that out of the way. And that buy is not there either. So there's the sell. Matter of fact, we can move that buy out of the way too. And that can be moved to there. There's another one underneath it. How about that? Move that. There we are. And then, so it's been in, oh, I see what we can do. This pushed it into the sell there. And back into the buy there. Let's just check the day before that. 3, and yeah, so that's what it was. It went into the sell there. Now let's widen the weekly. So there's the weekly buy right there. How about that? Well, there's an exotic we haven't looked at in a while. And then where's the weekly sell? So there's the weekly sell right there. And then the buy was right there. Let's put that in. There we go. Let's see how this all marches up. That goes to there. And then that goes to there. No, there. Right there, there's the buy. And that sell is right there. And that buy goes right to there. And that sell is a long sell. Look at that. Oh, no, okay, that's legit. Let's put this, let's grab a hold of that and move it right to there. And that one can be moved over like so. So it went into the sell here, and it was in a weekly sell, and it caught that whole ride down. Wow. This really trends well. That's something. You can move that out of the way too. Move that out of the way also. And this last sell was here that we're looking at. And we can get rid of that altogether to buy. So it went into was in a weekly sell here, and you could catch that whole ride all the way down to here. Then it went right back into a sell again, and the ride down to there. Let's see. I guess we should put a label this thing. Let's see, close. See, George says, morning to you. $2 difference almost in new crop and old beans. Yeah, and that's something. Here, let me do this. Let me save this. Save workspace. And let me just put the name of it in there. Is it IS? On. There it is. That is interesting there. We can get rid of these altogether. Remove. Remove. Boy, is this a trending product. I think that's going to be part of the title today. Wow. That's interesting. Let's go take a look at those beans again. Yeah, Robin was saying that. He was saying the same exact thing, George. He was saying that, one's going to meet the other. Where's it at? Let's go right to there. Oh, okay. Let's go right to there. There it is. And so, yeah, like no beans is in the 1250 area. And that's the new crop. And the old crop is in the 14, I want to say 1450, but yeah, it's basically $2 too. Yeah, you're right about that. You got to figure sooner or later they're going to find a way to meet to each other. Well, May will be gone. And once May is gone, I guess there might be a September crop, here in North America. So that'll probably be that's a good back month to probably watch also at the same time, how they treat that. But I imagine the Novembers are going to be very stalwart, because by the time they see how much is grown in the field, what the rains are, if they can get into the field to harvest them, it's always in between September and November that they're picking this stuff. It's usually rare to see them do it in December. I mean, I saw it this year here. We were seeing we saw corn, soybeans being, harvested all the way up into December. They were dragging their feet, really. Corn gets pulled out faster. Beans seem to be able, because they're in the pod, I guess they can sit in there and not give much of a problem. All right, traders, we will catch you tomorrow on Tuesday. It's been a nice, quiet Monday. I guess you could call it nice. I always like it when we have questions and all. And so I'm always looking for, just a little bit more activity. But, I can march through this thing, and I can always try to find different products and what people, what we're watching and doing and so forth. And I can, go on to whatever I'm looking at the same time and saving. So anyway, traders, happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you, to all our trading friends.